very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Have you come across the story of the Dubai princess? She called out her husband's infidelity on social media and declared divorce through an Instagram post. It's quite an extraordinary story. It was more than just an Instagram post. It was a bold message, a courageous move that has also triggered a series of questions. We delve deep into this story. Coming up shortly, also a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you all about why the Mossad chief's latest statements have triggered a huge row with time running out for the hostages. What really is stopping Netanyahu from going ahead with the deal? We tell you what's brewing. On to Pakistan. Will Shehbaz Sharif not be able to complete his term in office? What does the country's economic mess really mean for the country's future? We tell you all about the gloom and doom forecast for the Pakistan government as per a report and what it means. What would a second Trump presidency imply for China? What does Trump's running mate bring to the table vis-a-vis China? What has he said and why is it significant? We get to the complete story. We also tell you about a travel influencer in India who lost her life while shooting an Instagram reel. All this and more coming up tonight. Stay with us. Tonight, our top story is one of courage and leading by example. It's about a woman who has decided to take a stand for herself. It is the story of the Princess of Dubai, Sheikha Mahara bint Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. She has made a dramatic and unexpected move by publicly calling out infidelity and using Triple Talaq to end her marriage. This bold declaration has sparked a global conversation and stirred social media frenzy. People around the world are either shocked or pleasantly surprised. And this has also raised questions about what this means for women everywhere and whether women worldwide stuck in similar situations can actually do the same. First, here's what happened. Earlier this week, Sheikha Mahara shocked the world with an Instagram post in which she accused her husband, Sheikh Mana bin Mohammed bin Rashid bin Mana Al Maktoum, of infidelity. She stated he was, and I'm quoting, busy with his other companions, quote unquote. The princess's message was loud and clear. I'm quoting from her post. Dear husband, as you are occupied with other companions, I hereby declare our divorce. Sheikha Mahara then invoked the Islamic practice of Triple Talaq to call their separation. She said, and I'm quoting, I divorce you, and I divorce you. Take care, your ex-wife, quote unquote. Now, for the unversed, triple talaq is a practice that has been banned in many countries, but usually allows husbands to swiftly divorce their wives by saying the word talaq or divorce 3 times. There has been no public comment from Sheikha Mahra's husband, Sheikh Mana bin Muhammad bin Rashid bin Mana Al Maktoum, or her father, but all images of the princess's husband appear to have been deleted from her Instagram account. Sheikh Mana's account also seems to have been stripped of pictures of his wife since her online announcement. The post, by the way, has amassed over thousands of likes within 24 hours. Isn't that incredible? Now, while many praised her courage, her bravery, others speculated if her account had been hacked. Now, right now, there is no official indication of the latter. The royal love story turned sour just over a year after their lavish wedding in Dubai. In March 2023, the couple announced their engagement, and in a traditional Islamic ceremony, Qatb al-Khitab, they tied the knot in the month of May. Their extravagant wedding reception in June 2023 was a highlight. Sheikha Mahra wore a white embroidered ball gown made by Dubai-based designer Ezra Couture. Their honeymoon took them to the Greek islands of Mykonos, where Sheikh Mana shared photographs capturing their happiness. And then this May, the couple welcomed their firstborn daughter, Mahra, named after her mother. Last month, Sheikha Mahra posted a cryptic photograph captioned, "Just the two of us." What really was she hinting at? Evidently, the dramatic and unforeseen end to their marriage has left many stunned. Social media was abuzz with reactions. What are they saying? The social media reactions have been overwhelming. Many have offered support. They are applauding the princess's decision. Hours after the announcement, in fact, one user commented, "I am proud. Your decision." You see, Sheikha Mahra has long been an advocate for women's empowerment. She holds a degree in international relations from a university in the UK, also a degree from the Mohammed bin Rashid government administration. And this is impressive. The proof is in the reaction from netizens. One user, in fact, said, and I'm quoting, "path-breaking and truly liberating for all the women out there who feel sidelined or not given priority." This is a strong message, quote unquote. But you see, this bold move has also raised questions about the practice of triple talaq. Is it possible for a woman to do this? Traditionally, in many interpretations of Islamic law, only men can pronounce talaq, known as talaq-e-biddat. Here's the kicker. In the UAE, this right to instant divorce, to dissolve the marriage by pronouncing talaq 3 times in one sitting, is exclusively reserved for husbands. Women, on the other hand, must seek separation through a different process known as khula. A khula is the right of a Muslim woman to give a divorce to her husband unilaterally. In some jurisdictions, women can include a clause in their marriage contract that basically grants them the right to pronounce talaq. However, without such a clause, women do not have the same immediate recourse to divorce as men. Therefore, Sheikha Mahra's announcement has undoubtedly set a precedent. What will the impact be of her bold and courageous move? What are the broader implications of this act of taking a stand, a strong stand? Because to us, this is not just about one woman. It also raises significant questions about women's rights and empowerment. It sends out a powerful message to those women who feel bound, perhaps, by repressive rules. This story is far from over. As the world watches, the implications of Sheikha Mahra's courageous stand will continue to unfold. That's not just an Instagram post that was put out. It was so much more than that. It was a bold message, a move that is sure to be talked about for a very long time to come. Shifting focus now to Bangladesh. We're getting some breaking inputs coming in right this minute. In Bangladesh, student protests have left at least 32 dead. 32 people have lost their lives as a result of those demonstrations in Bangladesh. Remember, we've been telling you about the anger on the ground, which has only been escalating. Students are demanding reforms of civil service hiring rules. Basically, they have clashed with the riot police. Those are just some of the scenes of what's transpiring on the ground. The police, as per the latest, used rubber bullets on the protesters, and the protesters chased the retreating officers into the country's state broadcaster's office in the capital, Dhaka. That's just a sample of the kind of unrest that the country is witnessing right now. The angry crowd set ablaze the network's buildings. As per the latest, dozens of vehicles parked outside due to the escalating unrest in the country. The Indian High Commission in Dhaka also has issued an urgent advisory for Indian citizens. That's what we are gathering. This advisory is for Indian citizens and students in Bangladesh to avoid non-essential travel and basically minimize movement outside their residences. That's a crucial development coming in. Let's get in our correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, who's joining us for more on that. Siddhant, what more can you tell us about this advisory that's been issued and the implications?
Well, India rarely issues advisories, and when it does, it means situation is quite precarious. We have seen India in the past issuing advisories in cases like Ukraine or South Sudan, and we saw what exactly happened. But essentially talking about the situation in Bangladesh, we know that the human toll has increased, and we have also seen how there has been an internet connectivity not being very smooth. In fact, I have been trying to reach out to my sources. I cannot reach out to them primarily because it looks like there's an internet clampdown in Dhaka especially. But largely, you know, Bangladesh is India's closest neighbors. In fact, there is a continuous land boundary as well, a pretty long land boundary. And, you know, any kind of disturbances in Bangladesh could have implications for the eastern states of India, for the northeast as well. So India will be worried about that. But we know the visuals coming from Dhaka is not a good news. Terrible visuals coming in. We need to wait for more developments coming from Dhaka, from Bangladesh, exactly what is happening on the ground. But it looks like it's the biggest test for Sheikh Hasina, not in the current term, but in past 1 decade. Remember, she has been in power since 2008-9 consecutively. And of course, she is the longest ruling woman leader anywhere in the world. Now, essentially, she has a popularity, but what exactly has happened is something of a major street protest, the Kota protest, and we all know the background of it, but how and when the authorities can make sure that the human toll does not increase is something that will be closely watched. I'm in fact trying to reach out to Bangladeshi newspapers as well. In fact, their websites are not working as of now. So we're waiting for more details, but situation looks very, very precarious.
Indeed, Siddhant, just a quick roundup for our viewers who might just be tuning in. 32 people have lost their lives as a result of this Bangladesh unrest. Remember, this is unfolding at a time just a day after the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, appeared on the network, which has been set ablaze now. And she basically sought to calm the escalating clashes and bring down the tensions and urged for calm. This unrest, of course, that has been escalating as a result of these demands by the protesters for the reforms of the civil service hiring rules have once again brought to the focus the divisions within the country. And speaking about the visuals that have been emanating, this unrest, like we told you, had the protesters setting fire to the state television network. These are just some of the images that we have been getting in from on the ground, telling us more about how tense the situation really is. As per the latest, the student protesters clashing with the riot police, the police using rubber bullets on the protesters, and the protesters then set the network's buildings on fire as a result of the escalating tensions. The Indian High Commission in Dhaka, as Siddhant was also just telling us, has issued an urgent advisory for the Indian citizens and the students in Bangladesh to basically avoid non-essential travel and minimize movement outside their residences, which of course tells us a lot about how serious the situation is on the ground and how tense things remain even after the Prime Minister has appealed for calm. We will continue to monitor the latest coming in from Bangladesh. For now, we are shifting focus to Israel. It's been nearly 10 months since the Israel-Hamas war broke out. The safety of young women between the ages of 18 and 39 taken hostage last October continuing to remain a matter of grave concern. Their situation is now becoming increasingly concerning. At a recent security cabinet meeting, the Mossad chief David Barnea issued a dire warning, stating that young female hostages held by Hamas do not have time for prolonged negotiations. It's a very crucial statement there. Barnea stressed that any delays in forming a new deal could have catastrophic consequences for these captives. The Transportation Minister, Miri Regev, who was also a part of this closed-door security cabinet meeting, echoed this sentiment, labeling the hostage crisis as an open wound in the society. An open wound. She emphasized the government's obligation to these citizens. The Intelligence Minister, Gila Gamliel, concerned about the potential sexual violence against the hostages, urged the Prime Minister Netanyahu to ignore coalition threats and move forward with the deal. Prime Minister Netanyahu, however, is caught in a political predicament. The National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich have threatened to dismantle the government if any deal that does not end the war is pursued. And despite these threats, Gamliel insisting that Netanyahu must proceed with the Netanyahu deal to secure the hostages' release. Netanyahu himself, by the way, appeared to downplay the urgency, focusing instead on military pressure against Hamas as the best strategy to force an agreement. Allegedly, security officials and ministers who made statements opposing military activities were criticized by Netanyahu, claiming it weakens Israel's negotiating power. According to an Israeli news website, Netanyahu reportedly told the attendees in the meeting that they should not be anxious and rather Hamas should be, adding that hostages are suffering but not in a dying condition. What does that even mean? You see, till now, the Israeli Prime Minister's office has neither confirmed nor denied this claim. Netanyahu's stance on continuing military operations over negotiations is reportedly causing delays in the possibility of a hostage deal. Israel has continued to target Hamas and its close associations. Just earlier today, in fact, Hamas confirmed that Commander Mohammad Jabara died in an Israeli airstrike in eastern Lebanon this morning. According to Lebanese media, Jabara was a member of the Al-Jama al-Islamiyah, or Islamic group. The group reportedly operates closely with both Hamas as well as Hezbollah. Noting that Hamas is at its weakest point since the war started, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and the IDF Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, support Barnea's urgent call for a deal. They believe an agreement could be reached soon if efforts are concentrated now. Meanwhile, the ultra-Orthodox Shas party has publicly backed Benjamin Netanyahu, urging him to disregard the hardline stance of the coalition partners and prioritize the hostages' return. Shas emphasizes the religious and moral imperative to redeem the captives, underscoring their support for Netanyahu to act decisively. The proposed deal includes conditions like preventing Hamas from smuggling weapons and moving fighters via tunnels under the Egypt-Hamas border. And monitoring these movements could take weeks, time that the hostages simply do not have, according to Barnea. The defense minister has warned of the challenges in reaching an agreement on these monitoring mechanisms, highlighting the complexities involved. The urgency was underscored by the release of new images, by the way, showing the physical harm suffered by 5 female IDF soldiers held by Hamas. Women's rights groups have called on Netanyahu to act, emphasizing the dire conditions that the hostages face. And despite the pressure, Netanyahu remains focused on maintaining military operations, believing it to be the most effective way to pressure Hamas into compliance. However, senior ministers warn that time is running out. As international mediators continue to push for a resolution, the stakes could not be higher. An Israeli delegation, by the way, is in Egypt for ceasefire talks, hoping to break the deadlock. The deal on the table, promoted by US President Biden, involves a phased approach that includes Israel's withdrawal from Gaza in exchange for hostages and the release of Palestinian prisoners. The path forward is fraught with political and strategic challenges. Netanyahu must navigate a treacherous landscape of coalition politics, military strategy, and international diplomacy. What will his next move be? Last night, we asked if J.D. Vance will be the real foreign minister if Donald Trump comes to power. We talked about what the foreign policy under a potential Trump 2.0 administration will look like. Tonight, we focus specifically on what it could mean for China. What would a second Trump presidency mean for Beijing? How will it impact the US-China relationship? It is, after all, a relationship that goes beyond impacting just the two countries. First, let's set the context for you. Ever since J.D. Vance was named as Trump's running mate, speculation has been rife about what this combination would bring to the table for America and beyond. If we see Trump coming to power, we now have more insight into what could possibly be in store. Let's talk about the key statements made by J.D. Vance and the takeaways. Vance, of course, if Trump comes to power, will be the United States vice president. Let's just focus on what he said regarding China. Vance lashed out at Joe Biden over what Vance called a sweetheart trade deal given to China. I'm quoting from what he said. Joe Biden gave China a sweetheart trade deal that destroyed even more good American middle-class manufacturing jobs, quote unquote. Basically, he brought up the loss of jobs in Ohio and around the country, blaming Biden's support of the North American Free Trade Agreement and China becoming a member of the WTO in 2001. What's more, he called for stopping the Chinese Communist Party from building their middle class on the backs of American citizens. Not just that, he had more ammunition to attack China. I'm quoting, "Our country was flooded with cheap Chinese goods, with cheap foreign labor, and in the decades to come, deadly Chinese fentanyl," quote unquote. We've been telling you about the escalating fentanyl row between the two sides. And there was also a stern message for allies, by the way, talking about the need for sharing the burden. Vance talked about ensuring that allies share the burden of securing world peace. His message was simple: no more free rides for countries that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer. And speaking of the US and China, let me tell you something interesting. Before that, let me ask you this question. What, according to you, is truly an indicator or a marker of a modern quality of life? Nutrition, is it? Does that tell us more about the living standards and the basic quality of life in a country? Let me tell you why I'm asking this question. China has surpassed the US in the amount of daily dietary protein available to its population. Why is this significant? Because this is something that was thought to be impossible as per some politicians in the West. This, by the way, is as per the latest data from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Why was it thought to be impossible, you ask? To put it simply, because of the sheer difference in the population of the two countries. We are talking about a country that has more than 4 times the population of that of the United States, among other factors at play, of course. So taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture here, by the way, the question also remains about whether it will be a contest between Trump and Biden after all. You know why we ask this question? Because of what Joe Biden has said after a series of big names calling on him to bow out of the presidential race given his debate performance and mounting pressure on the president to call off his re-election bid. We have Biden saying that he will if he is diagnosed with a medical condition. That statement naturally set the cat among the pigeons, but we will get into that later. For now, amid the series of questions, one thing is clear. Interesting times lie ahead, and only time will tell which way the wind will blow for the Americans. As tensions between Russia and the West reach fever pitch, the Black Sea has become a focal point of geopolitical brinkmanship. With the NATO's increased presence in these waters and Russia's aggressive posturing, countries are on the edge of a potential conflict that could have catastrophic consequences. More in this detailed report.
Launching attacks in multiple directions, the Russian military machine is on the move. In Kherson, Ukrainian forces suffered a devastating blow when Russian troops decimated a US-made M109 Paladin, self-propelled artillery system using a cutting-edge Lancet loitering munition. The Russian Defense Ministry released this footage, showing the debut deployment of the massive FAB-3000 aerial bomb, a 3.3-ton behemoth that signals a concerning escalation in firepower. In response, Ukraine launched a daring overnight aerial and naval drone assault on Russia's Black Sea bases. Moscow claims it neutralized the threat, downing 33 air drones and 10 unmanned Ukrainian boats headed for occupied Crimea. The Kremlin raised the stakes further by issuing a stark warning, stating that any plans for a permanent NATO naval presence in the Black Sea will be viewed as a direct threat to Russian security. The declaration comes as Moscow accuses NATO of preparing for a direct conflict, citing increased troop deployment, weapon stockpiles, and military infrastructure development in Eastern Europe. In a chilling escalation of rhetoric, Russian state television aired a segment discussing potential missile strikes on European capitals. On the popular 60 Minutes program, the host, Evgeny Popov, brazenly suggested attacks on multiple NATO member states, including Berlin, Warsaw, Paris, and even American bases in Germany. This provocative display comes in the wake of the US decision to deploy long-range missiles in Germany from 2026. A move Berlin justifies as a response to Russia's placement of Iskander tactical missile systems in Kaliningrad. Clearly, the rhetoric around a direct conflict between Russia and NATO is increasing. Just one miscalculation could saddle the world with a catastrophe. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's now shift our focus to Pakistan, where gloom and doom has been forecast for the Shehbaz Sharif government. Credit rating agency Fitch says that there is a high chance of a change in government before the next parliamentary election in the country. Will Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif be booted out before the next elections in 2029? Will the political turmoil in the country derail Pakistan's economy further? Our next report telling you all.
It's been less than 6 months since Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif took over the reins of the country. Yet, a new report has already cast a shadow of doubt over the longevity of this government. Will Shehbaz Sharif not be able to complete his term in office? BMI, a Fitch Solutions company, says it's highly unlikely. The credit rating agency has forecast that Pakistan will witness a change of government before the next parliamentary elections scheduled for 2029. The agency said this in its Pakistan Country Risk Report. For the fourth quarter of calendar year 2024, remember, no Prime Minister in Pakistan has ever completed a full 5-year term in office. Fitch takes note of that fact. Its report warns, political risk will remain highly elevated in 2024 and 25. The country is in the midst of staggering economic and security challenges. What's more, political turmoil has made the path to recovery not so easy. In its report, Fitch highlighted how urban protests have hampered economic activities in the country. The report stresses how the political climate remains precarious in the country. With the founder of Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf Party, or PTI, and former Prime Minister Imran Khan likely to remain imprisoned despite several successful legal appeals. And the longer the popular leader stays in jail, the longer the current coalition government holds power. With no immediate plans for fresh elections, if that wasn't enough, Fitch has outlined a possible scenario where a technocratic administration might take charge if the government changes. The report projected that the policy rate could reach 16% this year and 14% next year. But it's not all bad. Fitch notes that Pakistan's exchange rate has stabilized beyond expectations. The dollar is expected to reach Rs 290 by the end of this year and Rs 310 by next year. Achieving budget targets under the IMF program is deemed challenging, although the fiscal deficit is anticipated to decrease from 7.4% to 6.7%. Additionally, Fitch warned that another potential flood or natural disaster could pose a significant threat to the already fragile economy. The report also noted that the Pakistani government faces the big challenge of managing disputes between the more liberal urban centers and the more religious rural areas. That distinction gains significance as militancy has been most frequently in the impoverished regions of Pakistan. The report notes how terrorist attacks in Pakistan are concentrated in economically marginal areas. The Pakistani economy is riddled with structural problems. A series of political upheavals, including the dramatic removal of Imran Khan as the Prime Minister, has created an environment of uncertainty, which has continued despite an election and the installation of a coalition government under Shehbaz Sharif. His swearing-in happened against the backdrop of equally dramatic legal clearance that was given from the courts. The policy discontinuity has made long-term economic planning difficult in the country. No wonder then, Pakistan's reliance on external aid has only increased. Last year, Pakistan narrowly avoided defaulting on its debt obligations thanks to last-minute loans from friendly nations and an emergency IMF package. But is there a way out? For Pakistan to truly break free from its reliance on bailouts, comprehensive and sustained reforms are required. That can only come through political stability. Experts say that for now, Pakistan must focus on economic stabilization and balancing the immediate needs of financial solvency. But it's the long-term goal of sustainable and inclusive growth that can truly turn things around for this nuclear power. Can Shehbaz Sharif prove the rating agency wrong? We'll have to wait and watch.
Let's now shift our attention to Greece. The country is currently grappling with a crisis of over-tourism. You heard that right. The picturesque islands of Greece are struggling to ward off tourists. The influx of tourists, coupled with the waste generated by wealthy tourists, created pressing challenges for the country, to say the least. And in response, the Prime Minister of the country has expressed the need to consider limiting the number of cruise ships allowed to visit popular islands. The impact of over-tourism has been felt the most by the local residents of Greece, with the islands of Mykonos and Santorini bearing the brunt of this surge in tourist activity. The situation has become increasingly dire, by the way. In the year 2023, Athens saw a staggering influx of over 7 million tourists. Experts predict a 20% increase in tourist arrivals this year, signifying a significant shift from the previously quiet streets of Greece. While the tourism industry has witnessed an upsurge, there are growing concerns about the detrimental effects on local businesses. In fact, instead of bolstering local industries, over-tourism has had an adverse effect on them. For instance, winemakers have reported widespread destruction of the vineyards due to the uncontrolled development of holiday rentals. And this, by the way, has caused agricultural land prices to skyrocket, posing a significant threat to the livelihoods of the local farmers and the producers. And what's more, concerns are mounting among the island's winemakers, who fear that if no action is taken, grape production could dwindle to zero by 2041. Zero. Why is that, you ask? Well, because of the scarcity of water. It is posing significant challenges for wine cultivation. The wine industry is suffering from a significant loss of labor, all thanks to the booming tourism sector. But it's not just Greece. The surge in tourism across Europe following the pandemic has worsened the supply chain crisis, the traffic congestion, also the economic disparities. These are visible in the sought-after destinations, including Santorini. And while some areas have attempted to address these challenges through visitor fees, caps on tourist numbers, and temporary bans, their success has been limited as a historically high summer tourist influx begins. Despite the local authorities' requests for limitations since 2012, Santorini is expecting a staggering 3.4 million tourists this summer. The mayor, Nikos Zorzos, anticipates a challenging year for Santorini. He has raised the red flag, by the way, saying the island's capacity to accommodate additional visitors, even with enhanced infrastructure, has been pushed to the limit. That says a lot. The municipality lacks the authority to impose a construction ban, prompting the mayor to call on the Athens government to intervene. And the Greek Prime Minister has noted the issue of over-tourism. In the month of June, he unveiled plans to impose restrictions on cruise ships accessing the country's most popular islands. The measures are expected to be implemented next year. The proposed regulations may encompass limits on the total number of island berths or the introduction of a bidding process for the boat slots. It is the government's latest effort to curtail day trippers from cruise ships. Do you love shooting reels, content for social media? Do you enjoy recording moments of your life and putting them out there for the world to see? In this day and age, Instagram is a world of its own. Social media influencers are celebrities. Some have become household names. They have massive fan followings and, well, a lot of influence. Some take their followers along on their journey. Let me tell you the story of one such travel influencer. A Mumbai-based travel influencer tragically lost her life while shooting an Instagram reel. Are likes, comments, views, followers online worth risking one's life? Anvi Kamdar, just 27 years old, went to the picturesque Kumbhe waterfall in Maharashtra's Raigad district on Tuesday. Kamdar, who shared her travel experiences under the handle The Local Journal, was not alone, by the way. She was accompanied by 7 friends, all seeking to capture the beauty of the waterfall. But beauty turned to tragedy in an instant. While filming, Kamdar slipped and plummeted into a 300-foot gorge. Her friends immediately alerted the local authorities, who sprang into action. The rescue mission involved the local police, the Coast Guard, the rescue team, Maharashtra State Electricity Board staff. According to a police official involved in the rescue efforts, even after reaching her, it was nearly impossible to lift her above as she was injured and there was heavy rainfall. So a vertical pulley was used to pull her out. The rescue operation was perilous, with large stones continuously falling down the gorge, further complicating the efforts. Despite these challenges, Kamdar was pulled out after a grueling 6-hour-long effort. She was rushed to a nearby local government hospital, but unfortunately succumbed to her injuries during treatment. This tragic incident is not isolated, by the way. In recent years, several influencers in India have met similar fate, driven by the pursuit of social media content. For instance, last year, a government official was killed by a helicopter's rotor blades while attempting a selfie in Kedarnath. Another case involved a 23-year-old woman who slipped and fell nearly 350 meters at a scenic spot in Mahabaleshwar while attempting to click a selfie. Authorities across India have urged tourists to exercise extreme caution, especially during the monsoon season, when natural sites are at their most treacherous in a way. In India, in fact, Mumbai and the state of Odisha are the only areas where there are any kinds of major bans against social media recording or photography. In the year 2016, Mumbai banned clicking selfies in 16 major parts of the city, citing surge in selfie-related fatalities. Violations can invite penalties of 1,200 rupees or $14 US. Besides this, earlier this year in March, the Odisha government banned taking selfies near wild animals. Such a violation can lead to as high as 7 years of imprisonment. And as we reflect on this tragic deaths, we must recognize the broader implications. Influencers are admired by many for their adventurous lives, their beautiful content, and increasingly putting themselves in harm's way as well. But should the drive for online validation or building one's social media presence or attracting fame overshadow basic safety? Let's now shift focus. Taylor Swift's UK tour has sparked a phenomenon dubbed treatonomics, reflecting the public's willingness to spend on entertainment despite economic challenges. Her tour is cited as a factor in keeping prices high, illustrating a broader trend where people prioritize experiences and leisure activities even when faced with financial pressures. The excitement surrounding Swift's tour showcases how star power can drive consumer behavior. Fans eagerly purchase tickets, merchandise, travel accommodation, contributing to increased spending. This enthusiasm underscores a psychological aspect of spending where people seek joy and escapism through entertainment, viewing it as a necessary indulgence rather than a luxury. And economists note that this trend extends beyond Taylor Swift's tour. Across various entertainment sectors, from concerts to movies, there is a noticeable resilience in spending. People are willing to allocate funds for experiences that promote emotional uplift and social connection, despite tighter budgets elsewhere. This behavior is partly driven by the aftermath of the pandemic restrictions, where the deprivation of social activities intensified the desire for live events and communal experiences. And additionally, the ripple effect of such high-profile events benefits the local economies. Businesses in hospitality, retail, transportation see a surge in demand, further embedding the notion that spending on fun is a significant economic driver. And this cyclical pattern of spending highlights how entertainment industries play a crucial role in economic vitality. In a sense, the Treetonomics of Taylor Swift's tour reveals a broader societal trend, the enduring value placed on experiences that bring happiness and connection, as people continue to prioritize these moments of joy. We now get to the story of Shi Sining, the rising star of Chinese athletics, capturing the country's heart, winning hearts as she heads to the Paris Olympics. At just 16, Shi Sining, often dubbed as the prodigy hurdler and goddess of beauty, burst onto the scene in March 2019 when she won the women's 100-meter hurdles at the second National Youth Games in China, setting a national record that still stands today. Last July, she secured her first national championship in the women's 100-meter hurdles at the National Athletics Championships. In the month of May, she won another championship at the National Athletics Grand Prix and set a new personal best of 13.08 seconds. Beyond her athletic achievements, Shia is a social media sensation with over 3 million followers on WION, an online application similar to TikTok. Originally from Shaoyang, Honan province, the 21-year-old Shia's story is compelling. She is the daughter of a former athlete. She pursued learning the piano, violin, and folk dancing as a child. Her athletic talent was discovered in her last year of primary school during a student athletics competition when she expressed her desire to switch focus to athletics. Her parents were initially resistant. Shia has shared multiple news reports that her family wasn't well off, and her father, having endured significant hardships in track and field training, did not want her to face the same struggles. However, her persistence and determination ultimately won them over. Among the new generation of Chinese women's 100-meter hurdlers, Shia and her peer Wu Yani are leading the way. They are even dubbed the Gemini Stars on the Paris Olympics track. Fans across China are eagerly anticipating their performance in Paris. Shia now, by the way, carries the hopes of a country in her quest for Olympic glory. The River Seine will be a central element of the Paris 2024 Olympics, with the opening ceremony taking place on the river with a boat parade and 2 events to be held there. However, pollution levels in the river have raised health concerns for athletes. The question is, will the river be clean enough for those events? Our next report getting you the complete story.
The race is on for Paris to clean up the River Seine in time for the Olympic Games this summer. More than 100 years ago, athletes were able to swim in the river during the Paris Olympics in 1900. It has become a lot dirtier since then. Heavy rain causes the Parisian sewage system to overflow and be discharged directly into the river, polluting it with fecal bacteria. As a result, bathing was banned in 1923. But this summer, Olympic swimmers and triathletes are scheduled to compete in the Seine. The city has been working hard to make that a reality, but has Paris done enough to make the Seine safe? The quality of the Seine's water has definitely improved. The latest data shows it was suitable for swimming on 6 of the 9 days between June 24th and July 2nd. To make that determination, Testers measured the levels of 2 fecal bacteria, E. coli and Enterococcus fecalis. The readings depend on rainfall and water temperature, among other factors. Paris built a massive underground storage basin designed to hold wastewater and reduce the risks of pollution. But whether that's enough to keep the bacterial concentrations below legal thresholds remains to be seen. So what if the water is not suitable for swimming on event days? Organisers can choose to postpone both events by several days. After that, if the competitions still cannot take place, the marathon swimming event will move to the reserve site of Vance, and the triathlon will be turned into a duathlon, just running and cycling without the swimming.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the